Introduction to Java. In this series, we are going to be exploring a huge topic, and that is the topic of Java, the programming language. Now, what we're going to be doing from this series is kind of taking a journey together, and every journey, of course, starts with the first step, and some journeys are shorter than others. And this journey, in particular, is going to be a little bit longer, because what I'm going to do with you through this entire series of videos is walk you through everything you need to know about Java, from what is Java, that's what we're going to talk about now, to the core basic programming principles behind Java. So we're going to start out really like the first half of this series with just a lot of learning, and then what we're going to do is we're going to move into applying what we've learned in the next half or the last half of the series. And we're going to apply what we learned to do things like create applets to run in web pages. We're going to create servlets for server-side Java web programming to create dynamic web pages. We're going to show you how to connect Java to a database like Microsoft SQL Server. I'm going to show you how to write Windows applications using Java as well, because Java is extremely powerful. And that's exactly what I want to kind of start out with here. I want to start out, pretending like we really just don't know a darn thing about Java. So I'm going to go over what is Java. The other question is, where do I get it? Is it already on my computer? Do I download it from somewhere? Do I have to buy it? These are really important questions, especially if you plan on learning and utilizing Java. Now, once you get it, how do I install and configure Java on my computer? There's a couple of little things I need to point out, and a couple of little tricks that I've learned over the years to really help my programming come along a lot better by configuring my computer in a couple of ways. And then you may have heard of the different flavors, if you will, or versions of Java, like J2 SDK, J2EE, Java Micro Edition, Java 2 ME, JAX. There's one of the things that surrounds some is anachronisms. And I'd like to clear up some of those right now and a little bit more along the way for you. Java is a full-featured, object-oriented programming language. Now, that really is a mouthful. I mean, what does it mean that it's full-featured and object-oriented? Well, we're going to be finding that out all through the first half of the course, especially the object-oriented part. Now, full-featured means this. Okay, you've got various types of programming languages. You have scripting languages. Scripting languages, for example, include things like Perl, JavaScript, Visual Basic Script. You also have database languages, like structured query language, okay, that's really used for only one thing, manipulating a database. Then you have compiled languages. And compiled languages are those languages that are written in such a syntax, but it goes through a process of what is called compiling. And Java is no different. What happens is that when you compile your program, you convert it from an English-like syntax, if you've ever seen something like C or C++, C#, or even Java for that matter, maybe you have a little bit of Java background. You have to convert that into something the computer understands, and that's some kind of a binary format. And in Java, what happens is we convert that down into something that is readable by what is called a Java virtual machine. And I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. What types of applications can you write with Java? What kind of business problems can you solve with Java? Just about every single one. I can't think of a single type of application that you cannot write using Java for the business world. As a matter of fact, more and more you're finding that video games are being written in Java. So database applications are written in Java, Windows applications are written in Java, programs that generate dynamic web pages are written in Java. I mean, just about any kind of application that you need to use in the business world can be written in Java. You don't necessarily have to, crack open C++ and write that. Now, what Java gets boiled down to, if you will, the soup that Java becomes is called bytecode, okay? Instead of a bit-oriented compiled executable. Now, there's an expression about Java. write once, so I develop it once, I compile it once, and I run anywhere. This is one of the key factors that really generated a lot of interest about Java. The fact that it was completely interoperable. I could write an application on my Linux box, and you could run it on your Windows box. So it's platform independent. I can run it on just about everything. And you know what? That really is true to, quote, a certain degree. And I'll give you a little bit more about the realities of where it kind of becomes platform dependent as we move along. But let me just tell you this. In terms of things like Java applets, it is 100% platform independent. Even Windows applications written in something called Swing, which I plan on training you a lot about, is really platform independent. So here you can see I've just got a myriad of applications that can be written in Java, web-based applications. Maybe you've seen JSP pages out there. That's a Java server page. Server-side applications, servlets, which we're going to talk about in this course later on, is like Java's answer to what Microsoft has called ASP. Java can run on cell phones. There's a whole J2 Micro edition, J2ME, that you can use to write applications to run on mobile devices. Java can even be used to write high-tech, really high-end video games. So what I want you to understand right now about Java is it is a worthwhile pursuit because you can write any kind of application that you need to write to solve any kind of business problem that you might have utilizing Java. Okay, so hopefully I've done a good job and I've got you really excited about wanting to get, download, install, write, develop, and learn all about Java. So where do you get it? It's probably a really good place to start in a course on Java. Is where do I get that thing from? Well, first of all, how much does it cost? Answer, zip, nada, nothing. It's absolutely free. Now, why did Sun Microsystems spend gazillions of dollars on coming up with a platform-independent language that they're just giving away? I don't know. Okay, Microsoft is doing the same thing with .NET, so don't ask me. I cannot figure these things out. All I know is it's free to download, and you can have gobs and gobs and hours of fun programming in Java for virtually no cost to you. Where do I get it? Well, two extremely important websites that you have to really know is this one, which is http java.sun.com. No www, okay, just java.sun.com. This website, by the end of this course, you will master. It has everything you need to know about Java. As a matter of fact, they actually allow you to download and install portions of that website on your local development box should you be flying on an airplane somewhere and not have connectivity to the internet. This website, the java.sun.com, is really geared towards developers. Okay, this is what Sun puts out as the primary resource it offers Java developers. It's analogous, if you do any Microsoft development, it's like the MSDN of Sun Microsystems. Okay, enough about that. What about this one? www.java.com. This is really where all the Ritz is. This is the Flash, the Sizzle. They have some stuff up there for developers, but it's mostly for people who want to know about Java and get some information about Java and download certain aspects of Java. So now that I've kind of set that up, we're going to start hopping out to java.sun.com, and let me give you kind of a tour of what you need to know. We're going to download Java, install it, and start writing some applications. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go into my run box here, and I'm going to put in http java.sun.com. Hop on out to the Sun Microsystem Java website. Now, I wish this website stayed more consistent than it did, but it does change frequently. The core of it does stay the same. They change it of course, just as you've gotten used to it, but I have to say, we will be in this website a lot, certain areas of it at least. Now, first thing I want to point out to you is a picture of James Gosling. This man here, James Gosling, actually invented Java. And there's a great little story about Java. First of all, it was really not designed initially to go and be utilized on the internet. Java has such a small, what's called thumbprint or fingerprint. In other words, Java applications can be hugely powerful, but yet not take up a lot of hard drive space. It doesn't need that much space in terms of the files in order to live on the hard drive. So they were actually going to put it in things like microchips to regulate, let's say, heat in a toaster. Originally, the language was going to be called Oak, and James Gosling and another guy were sitting at a coffee shop drinking coffee and discussing their newest creation, Oak. They get back, and guess what they discover? They discover that Oak was already taken as a programming language, so they went with Java. And I think it's worked out really well for them for a marketing standpoint. Now, here you can see, right smack dab in the middle, all of the Java technologies. These are the main flavors of Java. There's the J2 SE, which is the standard edition. This edition of Java, the J2 SE, contains all of the core functionality of Java. No matter what kind of Java development you want to use, the J2 SE is the base for it. It is the foundation. So let me simplify it. You always, always, always have to have that one downloaded and installed to do Java development. Now, a lot more of the advanced features of Java, things like servlets, are found in the Enterprise edition of Java. Enterprise edition, that is the J2EE. Maybe you've heard the expression Java EJBs, Enterprise Java Beans. That is going to be installed into the J2EE. So if you want to utilize Java Beans, if you want to do servlets, which I'm going to do with you, if you want to do JSP, which I'm going to do with you, we're going to be getting into the J2EE. And really the focus of this course here is going to be primarily on the Java 2 Standard Edition and the Java 2 Enterprise Edition. The Java 2 Micro Edition is for mobile and wireless development, like Palm Tops, cell phones, things like that. You have other new features. Java Web Services for creating and developing XML web services. If you want to work with pure XML, then you have a whole area of Java dedicated to XML. So what we're going to do now is jump into getting used to working with the J2 SE. This is where we're going to start our primary core topic of this course. Alright, I'm going to pop in and I'm going to click the J2 SE. And what you're going to start noticing now as I scroll down here is there are versions, okay? You have different versions and they dot notate them a little bit differently, and you have to get used to it. Now, what they do, thank goodness, is they stick the newest versions up towards the front here, okay? What you're going to have is you're always going to have the latest and greatest. The newest version of Java coming out is version J2 SE 5.0. Really, Java 1.5. Do you realize they haven't even hit Java 2.0? I don't know how their naming convention works per se in terms of versioning. Java's been around for a long time and there's been a lot of versions. The one we're really going to be interested in is the Java 2 Standard Edition SE 1.4.2. 1.4.2. So let's go ahead and click it. This is the version we're going to use. And as you come into here, you're going to see you have some information about this particular version, okay? Some community information and whatnot. What I want to focus on with you is over here on the downloads. So let's go over to downloads. And you're going to see there's several types of downloads that you can have. Now, if you want to run, now what I'm about to say is absolutely critical, so make sure you understand this. If you just want to run Java applications but not develop them, every single person who wants to run Java applications, either on their desktop or in Internet Explorer or whatever web browser you want, you have to have the JVM. That is the Java Runtime Environment. The JVM is the engine that takes the compiled Java bytecode and actually makes it into an application, okay? If you're familiar with .NET at all, this is like the Common Language Runtime Environment. You see, the JVM, let's go into that really quick. Remember earlier I told you that Java was compile once, run anywhere? That's because you have extremely platform-specific, platform-dependent JVMs. So let me go ahead and accept this license agreement here. And you'll be able to see here in a minute, look at, we have JVMs for Windows, we have JVMs for Linux, JVMs for Solaris, x86, the different major platforms that are out there. That is the only part of this particular course, and really Java as a whole, that you really have to focus on being platform dependent. So if you want to write applications that run on a Linux server, you have to download the Java runtime environment for Linux. But what we're interested in doing is software development. So we want the Java 2 Standard Edition Software Development Kit, the SDK. So I want you to go in and follow along with me if you can and download this particular setup package. And it's a fairly large package, and it can take a while. Go ahead and accept that. By the way, if any of you read that and find anything interesting in there, shoot me an email. I've yet to read any of those things, and well, it'd be nice to know if I'm going to get sued or not. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to download the Windows installation. And there's this offline deal. You can see it's a little bit smaller. What I'm going to do is actually I want the offline. It's the full kit and caboodle. The online is about 356K. You download an installer. I never do it. I just go ahead and do that. So we're grabbing the Java 2 SDK 1.4.2-05. So if I go ahead and click it and I say yes, accept it, here we go ahead and I start to download that. Now, I've already cheated. I've already downloaded it, okay? So I'm going to hit cancel here, and I'm going to minimize this. And just so you can see, this is what's going to end up coming down to wherever you save it. It is a setup file that is what? It's about 50 megs in size, so that's not too bad. It should download fairly quickly. Once you download it, you go ahead and you run setup. And it's basically a wizard. You do next, 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 next. And next thing you know, you've set up the Java 2 Standard Edition Solution Developer Kit, or Software Developer Kit. Now, I've already gone ahead and set that up, so once you go ahead and set it up, hit Finish, and we'll pick up together on the other side. Alright, hopefully that wasn't too bad, fairly painless for you. You got that downloaded and installed. How do you know if you've installed it? I mean, what do you have? Let's go to Start All Programs. Do I have any kind of Java stuff? Well, you might see this Java Web Start. Now, this is a pretty cool thing, but we're not going to be getting into it in this particular course just yet. Other than that, I really don't see too much. Oh, I have a icon on my desktop. Am I going to be using it? Not really, just yet. What you're going to do is you're going to hop out to a command prompt. And I'm going to go into my command prompt, and I type CMD in the run. And let me just go ahead and clear this out. And here's the first line of defense to know that you've actually downloaded and installed Java. Type Java-version. And what that's going to do is that is going to call the Java 2 runtime environment. And here you can see that's exactly what happened. You can see it's calling the Java 2 runtime environment, Standard Edition, the build number, which we're using here, 1.4.2-05, B04. If for some reason you're using a version that's a little bit newer than mine, maybe, or a little older than mine, don't sweat it. Not a big deal. Okay? Here we got it. Now, some other things that I want to show you to let you know that you've installed it correctly, and not only to let you know that you've installed it correctly, but what in the world did you install? So I'm going to explore my C drive, and I'm going to jump to my root of C, and here I've got a directory, the J2 SDK 1.4.2-05 directory. Now, this Java directory, that is my personal directory, okay? You will not have, I repeat, you will not have a directory called Java on your computer. So let's go ahead and jump into this directory and see what's in there. I'm going to begin by double-clicking on this directory, and wow, we see a lot of stuff in here. Let me go ahead and view it by details, okay? I have a bin directory, a demo directory, and a JRE directory. These are the things that I want to talk to you a lot about right now. Let's go into the bin directory. You can see in the bin directory we have a ton of executables. as well as some batch files. I mean, these are all compiled programs. As a matter of fact, let me prove it to you by going into my folder options, and I'm going to say, show me hidden files and unhide the file extension. Okay, so we see everything that we have in here. And you can see we have various EXEs. Well, what are these EXEs? Well, let me just go over the main ones right now for you. The first one here is called Applet Viewer. And Applet Viewer is used for testing your applets in web pages. And you and I will be using this. JAR. JAR stands for Java Archive File. It's almost like a zip file, okay? And JAR allows you to expand or compress and extract all of your class files within a JAR file. We're going to do that. Now, JAR Signer allows you to digitally sign your JAR files. A JAR file, I kind of think of almost as like a .NET assembly, okay? It's got a manifest file and things like that. And I'm going to have an entire little series, an entire video just on using JAR files later on. These are going to be the two main ones for a long time. You're going to get to know those two and use them intimately. Java and Java C. Java, I've already showed you. Java allows you to execute and launch the Java runtime environment. Java C is the Java compiler, and we will be using Java C every time we want to compile our applications. Java Doc. This is cool because what it helps you do is generate an API, application programming interface, like set of documentation for your applications. We've got some other ones here that we'll talk about later on as we go along. A couple of ones that I just want to jump down to here have to deal with RMI. RMI is Remote Method Invocation, and this is Java's proprietary mechanism for creating distributed applications with remote components. Let's say I've got a component on a server somewhere across the network, and I want to open up and execute a method on that. I would be using RMI. So I use those various RMI tools like RMIC, RMID, RMI Registry to go ahead and implement Java Remote Method Invocation, which is very, very cool stuff. Now, what do I have in this demo directory? Well, wow, this is where some real cool things live. Let's start off by going into the applets directory. So I'll go ahead and double click on there, view by details, and let's go ahead and look at a simple little applet, the clock. This was the first applet I ever saw in my life many years ago, and it really got me interested in Java. Because what I can do is I can run a digital clock inside of a web page. And here you can see the clock running. And this might not look like a lot to you right now, but back in 1990, let's say 5, I believe, this was the hottest thing I'd ever seen. And coming out of HTML and Perl web development. This was pretty cool as far as an applet. Now, people have done amazing things with applets and really made them more advanced. You could track satellites with applets now. Let's take a look at another applet example here. How about tic-tac-toe? Let's see what's going on here. Again, you have to remember, this might look goofy now, but man, this was the hottest thing I'd ever seen, long time ago. Okay? And we're going to learn how to make applets that run inside of web pages, just like this, later on. Other things that you get in the demo, which I think are pretty cool, is JFC demos, Java Foundational Classes. This is where all the real cool graphics development is. Anytime you see Swing, that is slick stuff. That is Windows development stuff. Let's take a look at Swing applets, and you can see what an applet looks like that is Swing versus what I just showed you. Look at, I've got buttons in there now that I can press and do all sorts of things. Swing applets are more powerful than just regular applets. And I know that might sound confusing now, but I will set you straight on that later on. Speaking of Swing, let's go into the Swing set. Now, I could run it as an applet or by double-clicking on this jar file. Let me run it as an applet first. It takes a few seconds to load here. While it's loading, let me explain to you what it is. Notice that we are running inside of a web browser. Look at this. Swing is where Sun hides all of the real cool Windows development stuff. Okay, that's where all that stuff is. I can create frames with Swing, buttons. Now this is operating inside of a web page, which is really cool. Also, look at this, cool tables where I could slide, with sliders to adjust the tables. I can do various things like adjust the cell spacing, use column selection here if I want. You can see I've enabled column selection, all sorts of things. Now, if I don't want to run inside of a web page, look at this. Here's the swingset2.jar. I merely double click on it. By the way, that's a jar file. You can do things that it's pretty neat, like double click on them, and it will actually launch an application. It's almost like double clicking on an executable. Okay, that would be a kind of an analogy for you there. And again, this is where all of the high-end graphics programming in Java lives. And you can do things like have menus, different types of menus, different types of windows here, all sorts of cool stuff. Now, you get this demo as soon as you download and install the software development kit. And it comes with all the source code. In other words, it comes with all the code to produce it. And it is hairy code. But by the time you're done with me, you're going to learn how to go through and understand what exactly it is that they're doing. Now what I want to show you how to do is configure your computer so that you can use Java a little bit more easier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to explore my computer, and I'm going to jump into my Java bin directory. So I've got my C drive here, and that'll expand out here, and then I'm going to go into the bin directory and double click that, and watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to click up here, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to choose copy the bin directory, and I'll show you why. If I go back to my command prompt and I type java-version, okay, I can get and launch my Java runtime environment from anywhere on my computer, from any directory. But what if I want to launch the Java compiler? It doesn't know where it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the path of my computer. And I'm going to do that by taking the properties of the My Computer icon and going into Advanced. Now I'm on Windows XP Professional, but it's virtually the same if you're using 2000. And I'm going to go into my environmental variables, and I'm going to choose Path. So I select Path. Okay, now I'm going to slow down here, so you got to follow this. I select Path, and now I click Edit. And the first thing I do is I look on my keyboard and I hit End on the keyboard. And you notice the cursor is all the way at the end of the statement. Now this statement is semicolon delimited, so I'm going to type a semicolon, just like that. Now I'm going to do a good old Control V, and I've just pasted in my bin directory, the path to where all of my Java development tools lives, to that J2SDK 1.4.2_05/bin directory. Right now I go ahead and OK everything. If I come back out to a command prompt, and just for wherever I am, just say here, and I type Java C, you can see that it's taken a few seconds, and now I basically have access to my compiler. And that's really important. That's going to help us out a lot. So let's go ahead and kind of write our first cup of Java. Let's go ahead and share a cup of Java together. The application we're going to start off writing is going to be not Hello World. I don't do Hello World. It's been done so long. Something that's really cool, though, do a Google search on Hello World project, and some guy compiled a list of how to write Hello World in every programming language. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about in terms of what is Hello World is traditionally the first program you ever write when you take a language course. But I like to do, hi everybody. I'm a big fan of The Simpsons, Dr. Steve or Dr. Nick, I can't remember what his name is, and he's always like, hi everybody. So that's what I like to write. So we're going to go ahead and write that starting right now. To begin, let's go ahead and launch Notepad. And I'll just launch Notepad from the Run block. Now, you probably have no concept of Java just now, which is fine. If you don't, you're right where you need to be. Why do I say that? Because we're going to write a very basic, very fundamental Java application, and you just need to take it on faith right now, okay? This is an important lecture that you understand that you're going to be having to take a lot of things with me on faith at the beginning. My experience in learning Java, as well as training it Java since 1998, is that the light bulb doesn't go on first, it goes on last. You have to hear this for a while. I don't want to hold any punches. Java is tough to learn, but we're going to have a good time doing it, and you're going to see and hopefully be motivated to hang in there with me and learn this. The rewards are just phenomenal. It's a great and fun programming language and very much in demand. But you have to bear with me, so take things on faith for a while. The first thing we're going to do is create a class. So I type public class, and I'll just go ahead and call this demo1. And I hit enter, and I open up a curly brace, and I close a curly brace. Okay? What is a class? What does this mean? I purposely am not going to explain any of this just yet, okay? Because the point that I want to do is I just want to write this application with you, very basic, hi everybody, get it to compile and get it to run. Then we're going to spend the first half of this series dissecting and going over the anatomy of Java applications. Okay, so public, let's write this, public static void main string. By the way, this is a capital S here, okay, capital S, string args. So some of you who are maybe have a little bit of background with programming languages heard me say it's capital S. Does that make a difference? Highly. So first lesson, Java is case sensitive. Java is case sensitive. Now I'm going to do a system.out.println, and I'm going to do quote, hi everybody, and a semicolon. Okay? Public class demo1. Open the curly brace. Public static void main string args, capital S string here. Open and close bracket there, args. Args, just like a pirate. Open curly brace. System, capital S, dot out, dot println. Lowercase o, lowercase p. Hi everybody in quotes. Make sure you have your semicolon. Close the curly brace. Close the curly brace. I'm going to save this in my Java directory. So I'm going to go to c:/Java. And I'm going to save this as demo1. Demo, do it like this, quote, demo1.java. If you don't put the quotes here, TextPad is going to save it as demo1.java.text. Okay? So I've saved it. Now I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to jump out to my command prompt, and let me show you what we have here. So let me go into my Java directory, and let's do a dir. And you can see right now I have demo1.java. Now watch this. Java C, Java compile, demo1.java. I hit enter. We wait a few seconds. Shouldn't be too long, okay, but we wait a second. What it's doing right now is it's compiling. It's taking my high-level English and it's converting it into bytecode. Now, the fact that I just got a command prompt returned to me is excellent. Here's how compiling works. No news is good news. If you don't get an error message, it worked. Do a dir and look it. Now I've got a .class file, demo1.class. So it takes the Java file and converts it to a class file. Now to run it, I've got to execute my Java application, my Java runtime environment, demo1. And here you can see it prints hi everybody to the standard output. Java applications are way more complicated than this. Okay, don't lose perspective. You're not going to have to type Java every single time to run your application. I'm going to show you how to package them up in jar files so you can double click on it. Like I already proved to you, it can be done with that swingset.jar that came with the demo files. Okay, but we're walking. As a matter of fact, we're just being born right now. We are barely even crawling. But by the end of the series, you are going to be running with me and creating massively cool applications, all right? So that's a little bit of an introduction to Java. The primary tool we're going to be using to develop our Java applications will be a text editor. You can use whatever text editor you want. I'm going to start out with, for the very first few times, using Notepad. But then I'm going to have you download a demo software of something else to use called TextPad, and it's got some cool features that allow you to work with Java a lot closer, just to help speed things up, and I think you'll really like that. In Introduction to Java, I gave you a nice high-level overview of what Java is all about. You can see that you can write just about any type of application using Java. It is a full-featured, full-blown, object-oriented programming language, really rivaling that of something like a C++. You download it for free and install it. Very easy. How do you configure? You want to make sure you're setting your path environmental variable, like I showed you earlier. You want to point it to your Java 2 SDK /bin directory. As far as the versions of Java, those are things like the J2EE, Java 2 Enterprise Edition. This is where you'll have servlets and JSP. Java 2 Standard Edition. This is the primary one, the core functionality. You've got Java 2 Micro Edition for creating things like cell phone-based applications. I hope that I've got you really excited about learning Java. I know I'm excited to go through this with you. I hope you found this informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.